everybody, this is Thomas from Dadpool Drums. I just wanted to make a video highlighting the process of wrapping a drum, kind of breathing a little bit of new life into it. The project I'm working on right now is for our DCI Sound Sports newest team, the Thunder of Roanoke, which I am a member. You can find out more about us right here. You can also find us on Facebook. Give us a like, give us a follow, show us some love. We've had a lot of cool equipment donated to us. We've had some great deals found on some drums, but of course they're a little bit mismatched. So my job is to bring a little bit of unity to our drum line and give a little bit of that Thunder of Roanoke attitude that we are going to bring to DCI Sound Sports Series this year. The project I'm working on right now is a 24-inch marching bass drum. It is a Pearl that we got a great deal on, and we're going to give it a little bit of a facelift, so let's see what it takes. Okay, so as you can see, this is our Pearl 24-inch bass, and it's seen a little bit of action. Got some kind of I don't know what you'd call that, some Art Deco muffling going on there or something like that. We've had a little bit of a goop here and some stuff that's stuck on there. Don't know what that is, or eye hooks and stuff. And you can see just a little bit of paint and chips around the rim, and this lovely artistic muffling that we got on the other side of the head. So this is our before shot, and let's go through the process now. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the old heads using our drum key. And even when I'm taking off heads, I like to go in that very typical star pattern, just to kind of release the tension evenly across the drum. Here we go. Oh look, our lovely Art Deco transferred into the rim. That's okay. Got a couple of small cracks in the rim, but nothing that we can't deal with. Gonna touch it up with a little bit of paint later on. But for right now, we're gonna set that off to the side and take the head off. We will not be reusing this head, so I'm just gonna leave that muffling on there and it can live its life. Let's get the other side off. Same deal. We got one side piece of tape stuck on there. Doesn't do too much sticky left on there. Looks like we got a place where got a spot right here where a rim shooter used to be, but that won't hurt it. Looks like this has got no cracks in it, so that'll be really good. Again, we'll just touch that up with some paint later on, and life will be good. There's our other head, and again, we're not going to be reusing this head, so it can go about its merry way. Now, next step I like to do is to remove all the hardware. So go to our lug casings. Each one's held on by 4 screws inside. We've got our air vent ports and our I know what they're called, really I do. Our eye hooks that our carrier goes on. So let's go grab some of our tools and we'll start taking more of this drum apart. And it helps if you have the right size. I like to keep our pieces together just in case. As you can see here, this eye hook has seen better days. It's just a little bit bent. Not extremely bad. We may see if we can straighten that back out. If not, we'll just replace it with a brand new one. Let's get the other one off. Oops. This one has fared a lot better over its life. We can see it's nice and straight, so we'll be able to reuse that one again. Next up, I take the air ports out. Air ports. A couple of different ways you can do this. This is the method I prefer. Actually, sometimes I use pliers, sometimes I use my drum key and hammer. And just line up the drum key with the air port. Give it a couple of taps and knock it out. Pop out the other side. And there we go. Let's get the rest of these guys out. There we go. Had some escape artists had to gather up. But there are our air ports out. Next up, as far as the hardware is concerned, is our lug casings on the outside. Like I said, they're held in by 4 screws. This may take a little while, but will be completely worth it in the end. So let's get these guys out next. And there we have it. There's all of our lug casings off our drum now. So we are fully dismantled, except for, let's find it here, our badge on the front. Really easy to take off here. Usually we got 4 screws on the corners, usually some double-sided tape or so on the back side. Got one of these miniature baby knives, really great for working in small areas like this. And you want to be extremely careful not to damage the badge as you're taking it off, if you want, especially if you want to reuse it, which I believe I will. I am a big fan of Pearl, but am not endorsed by them yet. But you never know. One day it might happen. Alright, there we go. As you can see here, if I can zoom in on this guy, we got quite a bit of tape residue left from that badge. And as we saw earlier, we've got this residue up here from whatever was on this drum before. So what you can do is very, very carefully, so you don't destroy the finish, just get you a little single-edged razor blade and scrape up some of that gunk. Most of it comes off pretty easily, as you can see here. Just a couple of quick scrapes and we're out of here. Later on in the process, we'll come back and clean this up a little bit better. Let's see if we can get some of this gunk off as well. Okay, so you can tell I didn't quite get all of it off, but I've got it pretty smooth, and the wrap I'm using today will cover that pretty well, and you won't be able to tell there's anything under there. I always like to inspect the shell. We got a big nick right here. We're gonna have to clean this up just a little bit so our wrap does lay nice right through there. Not exactly sure what happened, but a simple little slice right there, and this is obviously the bottom of the drum. We can see we've got a lot of scoring right here where this fella is set in a stand, but that is okay. Our seam runs right along through here on the original wrap. We're going to leave that intact. We're going to leave all the original wrap on. Okay, a little bit rough in some places, but nothing that will affect anything majorly. So what I like to do next is I like to go around and just give it a good wash. I use just generic window cleaner for this part. There we go. Nice and clean. Let it air dry for a hot second, and then we will find our wrap. Take a wrap. Like I said, this is just a regular contact paper type wrap. We bought this off of Amazon. Got a really good deal on it. It's a marbleized finish. It's a matte finish, but like I said, it's really nice, and it's been working really well so far for what I've been needing. So what I do now is just kind of take our roll around the drum, and measure it out, how much we're going to need. Now this part is a lot of personal preference. I come to the edge, and I usually try and leave about an inch or two for overlap, just because I like the overlap, because it makes sure that I got everything covered. And if a little bit of edge starts coming up, then it'll be a while before it gets all the way around, and hopefully you can catch that before it gets too out of control, and that will save you from having to do this process again and again and again and again. Okay. So we've cut our wrap. And we are just going to find the seam. Now the seam already overlaps, and the way this drum is sitting right now, this wrap is going this way, so the final overlap is heading this way. And that's the direction that I like to start while I'm doing this. I always start at the seam. You don't have to, but it kind of makes me feel better knowing that it can be lined up just a little bit better and a little bit straighter. As you can see, this wrap far exceeds the width of the drum. Okay, I've got a good 2 inches on either side, which is great, because that allows you to, you're not always going to get it completely straight from the get-go, so that gives you a little bit of wiggle room if you start to go sideways a little bit. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to start peeling a couple inches off of our backing, off of our wrap, just to get started. And we're going to flip that over like that. And what I like to do is just line up right here against the seam. So again, just give myself that little glimmer of hope that my wrap is going to go on straight. And I'll feel out for some air bubbles. Got one right there. Okay. With this wrap, like I said, where it's the matte finish, it's kind of got some grooves in it that help prevent air bubbles in it already, which is a good thing. But I also like to run my ruler across it as I go, just to make sure we're keeping all those nasty air bubbles out. So the process now is just kind of work around the drum, keep keeping the air bubbles out. And if you do it correctly, you shouldn't have to worry about puncturing any of the wrap inside of the lug casing holes or the holes for the air ports to go in. And the fun part is trying to distinguish, what's part of what's an air bubble and what's not, as far as any kind of damage that you might have to the original wrap. I always like to make sure I go back over the seam, just kind of press it in there just a little bit just to make sure we got it stuck down nice and good, and then go over the final overlap. And again, just make sure that's down there nice and tight. Next step in the process, we come back to our little boy knife and we just kind of find the edge of the original wrap. I like to run my nail there a little bit just to kind of press it down so I can see where I'm going. Doesn't always follow the way I need to go, but then very carefully and very gently just keep the edge of that knife right up against the edge of the original wrap. And just kind of go all the way around the drum. Till we get back to where we started. Yeah. Then we just pry off a little bit of the edge right here. And after a few pulls, it should come off pretty easily. You can either try and save that. I always just kind of wad it up, throw it away. And we're good, and that gives us a nice clean edge. Sometimes if you miss a spot here or there, just clean it up really easily, nice and gentle again with our little baby knife. And of course, keep getting stuff stuck to you. It's part of the process. So there we go. There's our new shell, our new wrap. That's about halfway through. Next job is to get our hardware cleaned up and polished up. Use a polishing cloth for that. And I won't make you sit through that part of the video, so I'll be back with you when I've got the hardware cleaned up. Alright, so we're at the fun part now. We've got all the hardware sorted out, checked it over for signs of excessive rust. We've got a little bit of rust here and there, but nothing that we can't handle for right now, since we are kind of on a budget. Next up, what I like to do is go around the drum and find all the holes that the lug casings go in. And using a pencil, you just kind of pop them wide open there. Pushing the pencil through just kind of makes the contact paper go up to the sides. I always like to find them and just kind of indent them a little bit with my fingers, just so I know exactly where I need to go in center with my pencil. So we'll go around the drum and get all these taken care of. Alright, that's all those guys. Now we can put this guy back on inside and start reattaching our lug casings. Alright, so our next step is, after we've got the hardware secured back on, is to put the airport vent holes back in. And what I like to do is take my little knife here and just draw a big plus sign right here. And then we cut the pizza slice into 8 different slices. And then we just kind of push those back in there so we get a nice smooth opening. Repeat on the other side. And then we have two nice smooth little openings for our vent holes to come back into play. Now, I have found with our vent holes that once you take them apart, sometimes they don't like to stay back together. So my result there is take just a little tiny piece of this two-sided tape, wrap it around the inside of our vent hole here, and kind of just smash them together. It gives it that little bit of extra cushion and that little bit of extra hold that we might need. So now we just take our vent hole bottoms, come in through the bottom of the shell, both sides, and our tops. Put them in as best we can. If they stick out a little bit, that's actually a good thing. And then we just roll over. I like to take a little block of wood, put it on the floor, just so there's no damage done to the floor. Put that guy on right there and just give them a little bit of a tap to get them back together. Repeat that for the rest of the vent holes. And there we have our vents back in. You can see there, oops, going the wrong way. And get this guy to zoom in for you. Just like new, blends in great with the new wrap on the drum. Next up is we find the holes for our carrier. And again, with the pencil, we just kind of push those through gently with the fingers and widen them up with the pencil. I did get lucky on this drum in particular. I need my carrier eye bolts about 8 inches apart. Luckily on this drum, they are 8 inches apart, so there will be no need to re-drill anything on this particular drum, which makes me happy. But, you know. Next, we need to find our spot. Let's see, there's our carrier shell. Find the spot right here. You can, very hard to tell in the video, but I can see the little raised up areas where our, got a little air bubble there, where our badge goes. And again, with the badge, you know, I just like to make sure the backside is cleaned off. And what I do is I'll look and I kind of eyeball where the carrier is going to sit to make sure I put this badge on right side up. Because I actually have done that before. Put a carrier on and had the badge upside down, and it was just a rather comical situation, but you know, it happens. So what I'm going to do here is take a double-sided piece of tape, cut it to the length of the badge, and get it all messed up because I folded it over my scissors. And we just place this double-sided tape on the back of the badge. Peel off the backing. And we're ready to put this little guy back on. Now what I like to do is take a couple of the screws on the top, and I always double check that I'm putting it in the right way, and just kind of line up those screws with the screw holes. Go. You feel them push in there when you got them lined up. And then just screw those guys down in there good. Give a little bit of a press to make sure that double-sided tape takes hold. And there we have it. Let's see if I can get this to zoom right. Get our badge in there. and we have a brand new looking pearl drum. Next up in the process, always double check all of our lugs, and you want to make sure, check the bearing edge along the drum. Make sure there's no rough spots in it. I've got a couple here. We grab our handy sandpaper. And we just do a very, very light sanding. Make sure that those bearing edges don't have anything that's going to tear up our new drum heads. Beautiful. Now for us, we again got a really, really good deal on some used drum heads. So we're replacing our Art Deco muffling drum heads with some of these new to us Evans MX1 black bass heads. We'll put those on, and again, check all your hardware for signs of rust. Give just a little bit of petroleum jelly on the bottom of those things. Make sure they get good contact in with the lugs. And we'll put our freshly painted rims on here, and we'll have a brand new looking drum. All right, we've got our freshly painted rims here. A couple little dings and such, but from a distance, this is going to look really, really nice for a used drum. New to us, we always love it. And again, like I say, check your hardware for rust. We've got some signs of rust on these guys, but nothing that will hinder us for a couple of years. If we can get a good season or two out of these drums, we'll be doing all right. And then we just want to take just a little bit of petroleum jelly to help ensure that the lugs go in there really smooth. Again, using that star pattern, we're going to get these down finger tight, and then we'll get her tuned up, get the other side on. Well, actually, we'll get the other side on, and then we'll get her tuned up. It'll be a little easier that way. Okay, now that we got one side of our head on, we're going to put our carrier bolts back in, our eye bolts. As you can see, I don't remember which one it was, but one of them has come back to life. Just a little bit of gentle persuasion, knock that guy straight again. So we're going to put these in right where they belong. There we go. Let's get another head on. There we have it. 2 new heads on a newly wrapped drum. Let's give you a tour of this guy. Okay, so here we have our finished product. This is our 24-inch pearl marching bass with our new to us Evans MX1 heads. Freshly wrapped, freshly painted, and ready to make some thunder for us. And while I'm in the spirit of showing off, here is my wrapped pearl 14-inch marching snare. Shout out to Vic Firth Sticks and Mallets and Zildjian Cymbals for coming on board as they sponsor us in our inaugural season with the Thunder of Roanoke Drum and Bugle Corps. Alright, there you have it. We got a brand new looking bass drum and a snare drum. Got a couple more bass drums in the work, and I'll be working on our tenors very soon. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to come out and support Thunder of Roanoke. Check us out online, our website and our Facebook. Also give us a like at Dadpool Drums. We'd love to hear from you. Hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, I guess I could call it, on how to wrap a drum. But as they say in the business, that's a wrap.